Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I thought I would make a second video to the one that I just posted about academics in St Andrews, but this time I would talk about accommodation. So after you get accepted into St Andrews, you will at some point get an email asking about accommodation and asking you to apply to the halls that you would like to live in. So you don't get to pick the specific hall that you would like to stay in, you just get given different options to choose between. So for example, there is catered or self-catered, so you pick if you would like to cook your own food, be self-catered, or if you would like to have meals provided for you in the dining hall, you'd be catered. And then there's also ensuite and standard bathrooms. So ensuite, obviously you have your own bathroom attached to your room, or standard bathrooms means you share with other people. So from that you get self-catered standard, self-catered ensuite, catered standard, and catered ensuite as your 4 options, and you get to submit one of those options as your preference. I'm going to quickly run you through which halls have which types of rooms. So if you picked self-catered ensuite, most of the rooms are within DRA 5 Park, which is where I lived in first year, but there are a small number in Agnes Blackadder Hall as well. So it looks like the only accommodation that has self-catered standard bathrooms is the brand new hall, which I believe is called Whitehorn, which was built last year. If you chose catered ensuite, there are quite a few options. So there's also rooms in DRA 5 Park for that. There's more in Agnes Blackadder, then there's also John Burnett Hall, University Hall, and the new hall Whitehorn again. If you chose catered with a standard bathroom, then you have Andrew Melville Hall, John Burnett Hall, Mackintosh Hall, St Regulus's Hall, St Salvator's Hall, Gannicky House, and University Hall as your options. Sorry, I had to read them because I didn't want to forget any. So yeah, that's pretty much the spread of where you can live based on what type of accommodation you would like. So most rooms in St Andrews are single, so you have your own room and you don't share it with anyone, but I believe there are a very small number of shared rooms where you will have a roommate scattered across a few halls. I know there's some in St Salvator's, a couple in DRA, but I'm not sure where the other ones are. But if you pick to have a single room, and most people will get a single room. So a bit of information about catering. I was self-catered, so I don't have first-hand experience with this, but I have learned a bit from people who were catered. So it looks like it differs between halls as to exactly how it works. So each hall has a dining hall where the meals are served every day, and there are specific times that the meal times run. So breakfast will be, for example, from 7 till 9. I just made that up, that's not an actual time. It might be, I don't know. And then lunch from 12 till 2, dinner from 5 till 7, something like that. And those are the times that you can go to the dining hall to get your meal. So when you sign up for catered meals, you sign up for a certain number of meals per week. So I believe the options are like 14, 19, I'm not sure, but it depends on the hall and what is offered in that hall. So most of the time, I believe on weekends, you don't get as many meals. So maybe you don't get lunch and dinner, you just get breakfast or something like that. So you do have opportunity to still make your own food, and you have kitchen facilities to do so. But also a lot of people like to use the times they're not getting given meals to go out to dinner and have dinner with friends who live in other halls, stuff like that. I've never personally tried the food, so I can't really give you a review on how it is. But if you wanted to get the gist of what kinds of foods you would get as a catered student, there are sample menus on the St Andrews website that you can look at. So now I'm going to run you through a bit of my accommodation experience over the last 4 years. So in my first year, I lived in DRA in Dover Flat 7. DRA stands for David Russell Apartments. So it is made up of, I don't know how many, a lot of buildings of flats. So as I said, I was in Dover Flat 7, which is in Dover building, and then Flat 7 is on the 3rd floor. So within each flat, there are 5 bedrooms, each with their own ensuite and a shared living room kitchen area. So the bedrooms come with a double bed, a desk and a chair, 2 bedside tables with lamps on, a really big wardrobe, a notice board, a bin, Can't think what else. Well, obviously you have an ensuite, so mine was a wet room with a toilet and a sink, obviously. There's a bin in the bathroom as well, which is helpful. Some rooms also come with duvets and pillows that you can use. I had my own because I didn't know it came with it, so I just stored mine under the bed for the whole year. But yeah, it's good to know, especially if you're an international student, you don't have to bring that because a lot of them provide it. In the kitchen, each person is given a lockable cupboard where they can store their food. And it's labelled to correspond with the number of your room, so you know which one is yours and which one your key will work with. The rest of the kitchen is made up of obviously an oven. There's actually a dishwasher, which I didn't expect at all, so that's really nice. There's 5 bar stools and a bar where you can eat at. There's 2 sofas. What else is there? Oh, fridge, freezer, obviously. Just counter space, a sink, bins, recycling bins. There's a big notice board as well that you can decorate. We had huge windows, which were really nice because we looked over the field next to DRA, so that was really nice as well. I think that's about it for the contents. In the hallway of each of the flats, there is also a cupboard full of cleaning supplies, so you get a hoover, a mop, potentially an ironing board. I'm not 100% sure on that. Maybe an era, not sure on that either. But it's pretty well equipped, which is nice. So a couple of things to note about DRA. First of all, there are no lifts. So in first year, I was living on the 3rd floor. So it's interesting when you move in and you have to lug all of your stuff up the stairs. It gets tiring, and the buildings are quite far away from the car park, so moving is fun. But I mean, you get fit going up and down those stairs all day, I'm telling you. DRA is actually located about a 30-minute walk away from the center of town. So if you're an art student, the majority of your classes will be in the center of town, as well as food shops, nightlife, restaurants, retail shops. So it is far to walk. You get sick of it. I got really sick of it. Hence why I didn't live there the second year. If you're a science student, you're a little bit more lucky because a lot of the science buildings are only a 10-15 minute walk away from DRA, which is more doable. It's a bit nicer. Also, if you like the gym is only about 10 minutes away from DRA as well. A lot of people actually get bikes in St Andrews, especially if they live in DRA, to make the commute into town a bit shorter. So that's something to consider. In DRA and in all of the halls of accommodation, I believe, you have monthly cleaning inspections. So you'll be given at the beginning of term a list of the dates when they will be coming around to check the flats. And basically the night before, you just clean everything and you'll pass. If you do fail, they'll come and re-inspect on another date until you pass. And if you fail a second time, I believe you get a fine, but they're really easy to pass if you just clean the night before. In terms of post in DRA, you have a mailbox and you get a mailbox key, 1 per flat. So your whole flat shares a mailbox and there's just 1 key. So if someone checks the mail, they just bring everyone's post up. And if you receive a parcel, you have to go to the reception building to retrieve it, and you just scan your matriculation card and they've already logged it into the system and they'll go and find it for you, and that's how you get your parcels. It's easy. That sounded confusing, but it's really easy. Speaking of the reception room, that is where the dining hall is located. It doubles as a bar in the evening. There are games there you can play. There is computers to use and printers to use. If you have assignments you need to print, I would always just go down to reception and print it. There is toilets there. There is some rooms you can rent for societies and things. It's a really handy building to have accessible. It's just in DRA, so it's like a 2-minute walk from your house. In my second year, I decided that I wanted to move out of halls, so me and a couple of my friends started looking for a private flat, and that's when we discovered the Hunger Games style mission that it was, trying to find a flat in St Andrews. Obviously, there are only a limited number of flats available in the small town of St Andrews every year, so the competition to find one is really high, and because of that, a lot of the prices are also exceptionally high for what they are, so it is difficult to find a place you can afford in a good location that you are able to get. So if you were wondering how finding private accommodation works, basically all of the real estate agents in St Andrews will at some point in January or February release a list of all of the flats and houses that they're going to have available for the next academic year. So once they've posted these lists, you can apply to view ones that you are interested in. They don't post pictures, it's just literally the name of the street, the number of bedrooms, and the price. So you really have to go and view them to see what they're like. And then once you view them, you can submit an application to get the house, essentially. I can't remember exactly what goes into the application. I believe you need some sort of proof of address, you need maybe your passport or some form of ID. You fill out an actual application form specific to the real estate agent, and then you also need to get references. Sometimes it'll be a character reference or from a previous landlord. So if you just lived in halls, you can actually get one of those references from your warden, so that's good. So long story short, our search didn't work out that year, so we all ended up going in different directions. One of my friends stayed in halls again, another one was invited to come and live with a group of her other friends in a private let they had already been accepted for, which was great. And then I decided to move into Aten House, which is a block of flats that's for students but isn't associated with the university. So it's not a hall of residence, it's just a block of flats for students. So the flat I rented in Aten had a very similar setup to the one I previously had in DRA. So it was a hallway with 5 bedrooms, which each had their own ensuite, and there was a shared kitchen and living area. So in terms of the contents of the rooms in Aten, you obviously got a bed. I believe it's a 3/4 bed, so it's not a single, but it's not quite a double. And there's also huge shelving units all around your desk, which you can display things on, and a chair, and then you get a bin as well. And then there's the bathroom, which is more of a cubicle shower than a wet room, and a toilet and a sink, obviously. I can't remember what else. Oh, a wardrobe. Obviously you get a cupboard wardrobe, and I believe there was drawers under the bed as well that you could keep things in, so that was quite good. So a few things to note about Aten. This time there is a lift, which is really nice because I was on the 5th floor and I could not deal with all those stairs every day. So lift, yay! There is also a gym which comes included in your rent. It has treadmills, cross trainers, a couple of bikes, some medicine balls, weights, dumbbells. It has all sorts. It's quite small, but it has a lot of stuff, and it's free, so may as well. A huge bonus about Aten is that it is only a 10-minute walk away from the center of town. So it's a whole 20 minutes closer than DRA was, which was really nice. And where it's located is actually much nearer to the sea and the beach in St Andrews. So from my flat, we actually had a view of the sea, which was so nice and so beautiful. I'll insert a picture if I can find one. So there are no cleaning inspections in Aten, which can be a good or a bad thing, depending on your level of cleanliness and who you live with. There's also no dishwashers, so you do have to do all of your washing up this time, unlike in DRA. The last thing I'll say about Aten is that you do not get provided with a Hoover per flat. So if you need a Hoover, you have to go down to reception and ask to borrow one of the 4 Hoovers they have there, which is a bit of a pain when you have to drag it outside from reception into your building, up 5 flights of stairs / in the lift, and through multiple doors, because it's a Henry Hoover. Like, it's not like a one piece, like it's a drag Henry along after you type situation. But I mean, how often do students Hoover really? Probably only did it like 4 times in a year. So in my 3rd year, I was studying abroad in 2nd semester, so that really limits where you can live, because finding a lease for 1 semester is practically impossible. So I really wanted to live in either Aten or in a private let, but in both places you needed to find someone to take over your lease in 2nd semester, and I didn't know anyone who was studying abroad 1st semester who could take it. So I ended up back in halls, and I ended up in Fife Park this time. So Fife Park is attached to DRA, but is the slightly more modern version because it was built slightly afterwards. The only real difference I can remember between DRA and Fife Park is that in Fife Park, in your rooms, as well as everything I already mentioned from DRA, you also get a couple of bookshelves, and in your living room there's also a TV. So when it comes to looking for a private accommodation in St Andrews, the search really starts in the January before you need it. So if you're in your first year looking for second year accommodation, you start in January of your first year. So knowing that I was going to be studying abroad for second semester in my third year, which goes from January to May, I wanted to get a head start on trying to find a place to live for fourth year, and I really wanted my last year to be in a private let. I found a woman advertising her property as available for my third year, and I decided to message her asking if it would be available the next year. And luckily for me, it was postgrads who had decided to fill it in my third year, which meant that they would all have graduated by fourth year and it was going to be available for us to rent. So I just got very, very lucky not having to go through the whole process that we did in second year, because basically I beat them to it, so they hadn't even listed the flat for the next year because I got to them in October. So that gave me some peace of mind while I was in Spain, knowing that I'd already figured out where we were going to live in our fourth year. So yeah, in my fourth year, I rented a 4-bedroom house with 3 of my friends, and it is quite a different experience having your own whole house than living in halls or something. It's quite nice. It's more, you feel more freedom, and it's a bit more homey. You can decorate the whole place. It probably doesn't make much sense for me to tell you all about my house, since it's very unlikely any of you will live in the exact same house that I lived in, but I loved it, so yeah. One more point I wanted to touch on is how laundry works in St Andrews. So in DRA there are, I believe, 3 laundry rooms, 2 of which are located in the base of flat buildings where people live and have about 3 of each machine, so washing machines and tumble dryers. And then there is also a standalone building with about 25 of each machine that you can use to wash your clothes. So you have to buy a laundry card, which you can top up online and using the machines in the laundry rooms when you need more money to be able to pay for your laundry. I can't remember exactly how much it costs. It's something like £2.50 for a wash, £1.50 for a dry. In Aten, they used the exact same system as in DRA, but they only had 1 room and it had 4 washing machines and 4 tumble dryers for about 300 people, which is not enough. So it was frequently very busy and you had to wait a long time to do your washing, which is not ideal. And also at Aten, whatever the prices were at DRA, it was at least £1 more expensive at Aten to do your washing. So half the time the tumble dryers don't actually work properly, so you pay your money to dry them, you finish the cycle, you get them out and they're still wet. So I would recommend just hanging up your washing to dry because it's really a waste of money. Okay, so I think that's everything I had to say about the accommodation in St Andrews. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any more questions that I didn't answer, feel free to leave them in the comments below and I will try to get back to you. If you did enjoy it, give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see any more, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!